7 copies of what I'm going to hand you here.
Yep, we'll get them. Some photocopies with you guys.
Yeah, just one for each of us.
Okay, sounds good.
Just get you guys up and running now.
Excellent.
Thanks. We're just going to wait to call the meeting to order when that comes on.
All right, gentlemen, you're live. Jim, you're good. You're good, you're streaming.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order. First order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, first order of business is a roll call. City Council Member Bodnar.
Here?
Committee Member Dick.
Here.
Committee Member Hathaway.
Here.
Committee Member Moffett. Here. Committee Member Morris.
Here.
Committee Member Cassidy.
Here.
Okay. Moving right along. Old business is a little report from myself. We have 2 new members of the committee here. I think it would be good to maybe everybody take a minute just to introduce themselves, including the new members, the old members, so we start to get to know each other a little bit. Yeah, I see everybody has their microphone on, so that's good, so speak into the microphone. Steve, you want to start off?
I'd be happy to.
60 seconds or so worth of background.
Sure. So first off, welcome, gentlemen. Appreciate having you here. Steve Bodnar, on City Council. My background is, my work background is I was a prosecutor in Burlington County. As far as my Cape May experience, my family's been in Cape May since the mid-'70s. In Village Green area. My wife and I, we also live in Village Green. My mom still has her house, and we have our property. We've been full-time residents for a while now. Love Cape May. A lot of experience here. And I ran for City Council last year, so this is my first full year on City Council in Cape May. One of our responsibilities is be on the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee, which kind of fits the bill since I cycle a lot and I run a lot and I spend a lot of time walking around town. I have spent a number of years walking around town and biking around town. So it kind of fits the bill, and really excited to have both you gentlemen on board. So thanks for volunteering to be part of this committee.
Good. Thank you, Steve.
I'm George. Yeah, I'm George Dick. I'm the deputy mayor in West Cape May. I've been for the last 3 years doing that. I was asked to join this committee, and it really is a sweet spot with me. This is one of the areas where most of the constituents in West Cape May have a strong interest in bicycle and pedestrian safety. It's one of the #1 things that we talk about at Board of Commissioners meetings, since we have one of our main streets is Broadway, and it's pretty dangerous going down there. So getting involved in this has been great. I also am an avid biker. I run every day. If you see somebody running with a dog, that is me. You'll see me all winter. I'm the only one out there. Steve's not with me. But so it's a lot of this is personal for me because of how much I use the roads and the streets. And it also, as a representative of the public and serving the public, it is incredibly important that we get this right. And we have some challenges because of the way the roads are, they're historic roads that are narrow. But working with this group, we've come up with some good solutions. Working with the police department, we've come up with some good solutions. I'd like to continue to do that.
Thank you. Bob?
Okay, my name's Bob Morris, and I live in West Cape May. Raised my children here. They went to Lower. and they've all done well for themselves. I got involved in this. I was president of the Kiwanis Club, and we ran a program, Bike at Night, Have a Light. And we gave out lights to all the school children in Cape May, West Cape May. And, we went around and spoke to them. And we talked to the police department, and they put signs on when you drove in, signs, one of the electric signs, put Bike at Night, Have a Light. And we also had a float in the parade. And Trish Hendricks was on board, and she goes, you should be part of the Bike Advisory Committee. So that's how I ended up on here. So I've been here, a member since 2019.
Jim Moffett. I was on the original Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Committee when Mayor Lear, shortly after he took office in 2007, January 2017, and shortly afterwards he organized several committees across a number of activities in the city, and I was asked at that time to become a member because I was an active biker at the time and had an interest in just making some commitment back to the city of Cape May. I've been coming to Cape May since I was 17 years old, 1960. I lived and worked in Congress Hall myself that year, and I've been coming back ever since. I finally bought a house here in 1991. And lived on Sewell Avenue up until 4 years ago when I moved out to, still on the island, but Lower Township on New England Road. I haven't been able to, or have decided not to get on a bicycle for the last 3 years now, just because I have some fairly significant balance and nerve problems in my legs, and I don't want to fall. So, but I still maintain my interest in, first of all, paying back Cape May for all they've given me, and doing that by being part of this committee. And we've made some good progress over the last 6 years. There's still progress to go.
My name's Jerry Hathaway. I'm an attorney. I practiced for over 45 years now, mostly at large law firms. My discipline is labor and employment law for management, but most of my time is spent on transactions where I evaluate target companies in their compliance with labor and employment laws. I first came to Cape May in 1979 when I started dating my wife. She's been coming to Cape May since 1957 or so, 58. We bought a house here 10 years ago on Delaware in Village Green. I own an electric bike. I like to ride it around town. I see a lot of problems with electric bikes. Particularly, I see teenagers and younger flying across lawns and all over the place on electric bikes. I moved here from New York City full-time a year and a half ago, and I've had 4 or 5 within inches near collisions with electric bikes in New York City. So I think attention needs to be paid to electric bikes. They're problematic. Mine's legal. It has a 19-mile-per-hour limit on it. You can't go faster, but I could adjust it, and it could go 40 miles per hour, but I'm not making that adjustment. So I think that's my primary concern is electric bikes, just seeing in the summer in particular how they're flying all over town, across lawns, buzzing around and being ridden pretty dangerously. I just looked at a very well thought out Cape Island Safe Streets Action Plan from last year, and I'm really excited about the projects that are addressed in here, but I also think we need to pay some attention to electric bikes.
Thanks, Jerry.
Joe Cassidy, I believe the newest member of the group. This is my first meeting. I grew up in Philadelphia. My wife and I lived most of our lives in Montgomery County, Horsham Township. We moved down here permanently, I mean full-time, in 2004, but we've had a house here since 1986 in Village Green also. And but my parents have been coming down here since the 50s, so I love Cape May. I'm an avid biker. I try to use my bike whenever I can, you know, on the island. And I was a CPA for Verizon Communications for 33 years and retired in 2002. Hard to believe it's that long. And so it's a privilege for me to be on the committee and have some input to the biking rules in Cape May and the safety of bikers and pedestrians as well. And it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Just a couple of things, comments from myself. Steve, I believe you took the minutes from the last meeting.
Yes, and I will have them for the group's consideration at the next meeting to review and to approve.
Okay,
And I'm also taking them for this meeting as well.
yeah. Okay, so we'll skip reading the minutes of the last meeting now and move that to our next meeting. But it brings up the subject of the committee needs a secretary to take minutes and then get them typed up and presented at the next meeting that we have on a regular basis. So I'll ask if either one of you are interested in that or would like to do it or would like to think about it and come back to the next meeting or between now and the next meeting and say, yeah, I'll be secretary. That would be appreciated.
I have an electronic device that uses AI to summarize meetings.
Right.
I could just bring that. If you want it, you have it.
No, thank you.
Okay, so, yeah, I'll do it.
Okay,
But not for this meeting.
right. So can we say, Steve, can you take them for this meeting?
Yes, I intended to, I will, and that would be great. Jerry, that's wonderful. That would be greatly appreciated if we could kind of count on that and rely on that for future meetings. So I guess, are you volunteering to be the secretary utilizing your AI?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
Since
Appreciate
it's being recorded, the fact that this records it doesn't make a difference, so.
it. Yes.
All right.
Will it change the words we say?
Say aye.
Into proper English rather than
Clean it up a little.
colloquialisms and Philadelphia accents?
Well, it understands Philadelphia accent.
I think to make this official, we should take just a vote on this among ourselves. So all in favor of Jerry Hathaway becoming the secretary of the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee?
Aye.
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 I abstain.
Okay.
Thank you, Jerry.
Congratulations.
Condolences.
You're the man.
Another term, that's good.
The only other thing that I have, as far as old business goes, is at the last meeting, we had one member of the public make a comment in regards to the nature trail and the signage at the nature trail. It's very evident that no dogs are allowed, and there's great signage in that regard. There's just a small mention amongst a lot of other items that are mentioned about no bicycles or skateboards. And the member of the public was saying we really need much better signage as far as no bicycles in the park. I walk the trail myself a couple of times a week. It's wonderful. It's beautiful, and I love doing it. It's just long enough for me to hobble around with my cane. But there are numerous bicycles using that trail, and very few dogs. Most of the time, people, because I've stood there for a while, and people walk up to go on the trail, they have a dog or two in hand, and they turn around and leave. The bicyclists just keep on going. So I'm very much in favor of seeing the city make an improvement in the sign of not having bicycles, because when you're there for a walk and somebody's coming along riding their bicycle, it interferes with your walk. And I think it's also a safety factor. So I was over there yesterday, and there's been no change in the sign since last month we did this. So I would just like to maybe talk to the city manager again, or do something. I'm just speaking for myself here, but if, the committee thinks that that was a good idea, maybe you don't think it's a good idea, but I'd like to see us make a recommendation. We are an advisory committee, we can't change it, but make a recommendation that we have better signage as far as keeping bicycles off the nature trail. But I open that up to discussion here.
Jim, could I just add to that a little bit, just to provide could I just add a little bit more information to what you just have brought up? So in addition to the last bike and pedestrian meeting where we had public comment, it is also a topic that has been raised at city council meetings by the public as well. So it's been a public discussion raising the same issue in that venue. And during those conversations, the city manager was present, has heard those, and I know he was present for the last meeting as well to hear it here. Look, you're right. The signage there is not adequate as far as notifying bikes. It's buried in a sign that says all the do's and don'ts about what you can and cannot do on the trail, which, especially if you're on a bike, you need something visual to be able to see, because people that go on the bike, they're just going to fly right past it. They're not going to read that anyway. So my understanding is that the city manager is working on signage. I know that it hasn't been added yet, but I would agree with you. I think that this is something that we can discuss, and I would encourage this committee to continue to push for that. But I think there's something in the works with that, and I'm going to also follow up with the city manager to determine where we stand as far as having that signage placed out there.
Any other thoughts, Jerry?
I would add scooters to that list.
Pardon?
Scooters, I would add
Those-
scooters.
Yeah, and there are on there skateboards. There's one line that says, no bicycles, skateboards, or other recreational vehicles. But we could be specific about scooters.
Yeah,
And-
I'm seeing these one-wheeled things around town, too. I guess those are electric skateboards, technically, so they're covered.
Yeah.
Public comment.
So I guess you've been following the meeting, huh, Paul?
No, I've been trying to scramble a report together for something else, and so I had a time sensitive on it, so I apologize for not stopping down sooner. So,
I thought this was the biggest game in town right now.
Yes,
Thought you'd be here.
yes.
No, appreciate you.
no problem. So really just, we don't really have an update. We're moving forward. The bid for the sidewalk project is out. We anticipate having those bids back later this month.
Can you hold off just for a minute, because we're in the middle of another discussion,
Yep,
which would be
let's-
of interest to you.
Okay.
Actually, and I candidly, I thought you may have heard what we were
No,
talking
no, I
about.
did not.
So if
I
we
did
could,
not.
if we could address a specific
I can't
specific
multitask
issue.
that good to pay attention to
Okay.
a meeting and do that, so no.
Thank you. The issue that has been discussed is the signage for no bikes on the nature trail. I know we have talked about the signs that presently exist. It
Right.
says no bikes, but it can get lost in the message. So what's the status as far as putting better signage for?
I don't want to keep adding signage, because sign pollution just is that, sign pollution. So Public Works is in the process of getting some stencils that we're going to stencil on the path as you would ride up and approach each of the ends of the actual boardwalk area, and just say, no bikes, and have signage, it would be signed that way. as opposed to adding a third sign along there that really just becomes, people are going to ignore it because they're going to ignore it, whether, I don't care if I put one sign, 5 signs, or 10 signs, somebody that's going to ignore it is going to ignore it regardless of the amount of signage, but we are going to put some stenciling on the path.
And I'd like to add another suggestion along those lines. I don't know if it's been brought up or not, but I think it would be advantageous if there was a bicycle rack so
There
that
is.
people that,
There's a bicycle rack right when you would make the turn to go back in towards the woods, there's a bike rack.
coming off of St. John's?
St. John's, yeah.
Yeah, like,
Okay.
like if you look, if you can consider the sidewalk that comes from St. John, the sidewalk that comes from Lafayette,
Yeah.
where they intersect, set of trash cans, bike racks,
Okay.
right there.
Okay.
And that's probably, we'll probably add a no bikes there also, just so that,
Yep.
try to make it,
Reinforce it, yeah.
reinforce it, but like I said, people are going to still do it,
Okay.
unfortunately.
So-
Paul, if I could ask a follow-up question along the line with the stencil, and I know the flow of going on the nature trail. You pretty much would see it at the one location, even if there's another way to be able to access the trail. I think a lot of people probably
You can't really access, coming in at that location is really the only place to get to the trail.
So where are you intending on placing the?
I'm going to put one right after that intersection. So if you, at that intersection, you started to head that way, we'll have one there. And then I was going to put 2 really at the, I mean, the important spots to not have bikes are when you're up on the elevated trail. If you're in the sidewalk area, in the grass area, you've got at least some space for the pedestrian to move off, the bike could move off into the dirt area, so you kind of have some recovery space, so to speak. But when you're up on the elevated platform, you don't have anywhere to go. I mean, and that's kind of the same issue about why we don't want dogs up there, is you don't have anywhere to go if you're the other person.
What time frame do you think?
Waiting for
we're working
Public
with?
Works has ordered them, so
Okay.
as soon as we get them, they'll be installed.
Okay. Thank you, Paul.
No problem.
You're probably on a limited time here.
No, I finished up what I needed
So-
to do then, so I'm good for the
So I'll
next.
turn it over to you for your report. You're starting to go on the sidewalk.
Sidewalks, so we have, the sidewalks are out to bid, so we're just waiting for the bids to come back, and then we'll evaluate that project. Project-wise, a lot of construction still going on, so we're looking at moving those forward. I know that, I don't know if you've already discussed as far as, I know I had a conversation with Councilman Bodnar about what project you'd like, because we're starting our budget time now. We had our focus projects that came out of the Safe Roads and Streets project. I had made the recommendation to kind of looking at that Elmira Bank corridor getting up to Beach Avenue as what I thought we could propose to council as a project to fund and try to get into next year's budget. But that's my recommendation. I think I think that the committee here could look at all the different recommendations, and if you concur with that, that's the proposal we'll put forward. But I think we're only going to be able to probably get funded one project from a design standpoint. I don't believe council's going to have an unlimited budget with planning dollars for this, so I want to pick the project wisely that we want to pitch for it. So I'm looking for this committee to kind of give that recommendation so that I can work up that proposal price to council to put in the budget.
Hey, just a little later in the meeting, under new business, we're going to have a discussion
about that.
about what our priorities are
Yep.
for next year. And I have a copy for everybody.
Perfect.
These are the prioritized infrastructure projects
Yep.
that the consultants
Made suggestions of.
and ourselves agreed upon last year to move forward with.
Yep. So that's
coming up
really-
a little later in the meeting.
Not a problem. Okay,
Very good.
all right.
Any questions for the city manager?
Thank you,
Okay.
guys.
Thank you.
I'll hang around so I can, if there's, as we get to that discussion, so we can
Yeah.
roundtable that.
Sure.
Thank you, Paul.
Steve, I turn it over to you
Okay.
as far as comments that you'd like to make.
Sure, appreciate it. See, I believe at the last meeting, I mentioned about the QR code stickers.
A little louder.
Sure, the QR code stickers. So the city has prepared stickers that can be placed on the rental bikes that have a QR code. On the QR code, it leads one to the Cape May City bike safety page. On the bike safety page is the city bike map. We are in the process, myself and David Scheffler, who's our Director of Recreation, we are in the process of going around to the different bike shops to have them place the stickers, to discuss placing stickers on the bikes. So far, we've been met with agreement. The bike shops think it's a great idea. They get a lot of questions about the bike maps, and one of the positive aspects of this QR code is the QR codes don't get stale. As we update the bike map, and I know we're going to talk about our priorities for next year, among them may be projects, but one of them may be updating the city bike map. As the city bike map gets updated, when we update it on the city website, when an individual goes and scans the QR code, it's going to bring up the latest information. So as we update information, we can constantly provide the latest bike map for folks. So I wanted to give the update that we're in the process of going around to the bike shops, being met with positive feedback on it, and anticipate that and hopeful that those QR code stickers will be on all the bike map or rental bikes for this coming season. The other matter that I wanted to talk about was e-bikes. And in this regard, so as Jerry pointed out, we do have a lot of e-bike users in town, and while many of the e-bike users use them properly and follow the rules of the road, one, we've seen an explosion in the use of the e-bikes, and there has been an issue, though, with people who not following the rules of the road, whether they're on e-bikes or other devices as well. So there's been, I have to say, one of the things we've heard on City Council is, and I think many communities have, a lot of feedback about the reckless use of e-bikes, as well as questions as far as what can the community do to regulate the use of e-bikes in the city. And candidly, the law has not kept up with the technology that's out there and the proliferation of e-bikes. For instance, there's no licensing requirement for the use of e-bikes. There's no registration requirement for the use of e-bikes. And the guidance that we have received from our city solicitor and the understanding of the law as well is that's not something that the city can regulate. That's something that's within the purview of the state. Nonetheless, I believe that there are steps that the city can take regarding the use of e-bikes, and I think that it's time for Cape May to take a look at this and see if we should be considering an ordinance that addresses the usage of e-bikes and not wait for the state to give us guidance on that. And one of the, in part, that's driven by, last night at City Council meeting, we had one of our residents stepped up to the podium and discussed another incident where they had a close call with an e-bike. And candidly, I think I can just go around to many people in town who can discuss about close calls that they've had with e-bikes. And sadly, you look in the newspapers and you consistently hear about incidents involving individuals with e-bikes, either pedestrians being hurt or the riders being hurt as well. I noticed that Lower Township apparently passed an ordinance within the past day or so regarding regulating the use of e-bikes. So I have reached out to our city solicitor to get information regarding that particular ordinance. I think it's time for Cape May to take a look at this issue more closely. And candidly, I don't think that this is something that we should just we don't have the time to wait for the state to address this issue. At a recent city council meeting, city council passed a strongly worded resolution for the state to address these issues. And I know that that's been forwarded to the state. I believe West Cape May has done a similar thing. So
Lower, and then now Lower's come out with something else.
So the state is hearing it from the communities, but we need to do something in the meantime to address this. What I would suggest, and what I'm throwing out to this committee, is that that we discuss and we resolve to vote that Cape May City government, to the extent that the law permits, should pass an ordinance to address and regulate the operation of e-bikes and electric scooters in Cape May. I think we need to take a look at this. I think it's time for us for Cape May to take steps to regulate the use of e-bikes. And I think if this committee sends that message to City Council, I think that helps. I think it's an opportunity for this committee to weigh in on that issue. I think it's appropriate to, and I would gladly take that message to City Council.
Steve, just let me jump in here for a second. I think that any ordinance that gets put in place, and since the enforcement will be likely from our friends in the police department, I think it almost needs to be coordinated and island-wide. So if you're going to do it, we want to do it. I haven't spoken to the point, but I'm sure they would be involved. The lower portion of the island, they've already done something. I have to get a copy of it. But I think we should all coordinate for the whole island, so there's consistent rules for everybody across all the municipalities.
So I'll gladly share when I get the information.
Okay.
I'll be happy to pass it to you for West Cape May, and we can discuss that matter. We could discuss that matter further. And I mean, I also want to add, look, I know our Lieutenant Walker is here today, is going to be addressing us. It's and is going to provide us with feedback on his experiences regarding e-bikes over the course of the summer and efforts that have been made for enforcement. A lot of this comes with education and getting people on board with doing the right thing. We can't have somebody on every street corner. I think our police department does a great job, but you can't have somebody everywhere. And when our town has, upwards of 50,000 people in the city on any given day, there's a certain aspect of we can only do so much from an enforcement standpoint, but having something on the books that provides penalties and gives another tool to the police department, I think is going to be beneficial. So be happy to, that's something that I would like to look into. As I said, I think it's something that I would think that this committee would like this committee to make a statement on those lines that, as I said, can take back to the city. Be happy to work on that with West Cape May.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Before we move along.
Comment. There's a front-page article in yesterday's Philadelphia Inquirer on the whole e-bike issue, and it covers New Jersey State and what the problems are between state and municipalities. I commend the article.
Okay, thank you. For the city manager, Paul, we have a question for you. Right before the meeting, Joe Cassidy asked me about the change in signage for bicycles on the promenade. Joe?
Yes. So in the last 2 years, the rules for biking on a promenade were between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m. during the summer, between That was between May 15th and September 15th. Prior to that, it was May 1st to October 31st. But now the signs, the new signs that just went up within the last week or so, seem to indicate that the restriction on bikes is between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m., and it appears to be throughout the year, unless I misread something on the sign, and I think it's pretty clear. Yeah. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. Okay, so it's a year-round restriction now? So that's a big change from the way it's always been. I mean, it was May 1st to October 31st for the last 40 years that I've been here. And
Well, yeah, well, that was never brought up to this committee. It was just happened.
Right,
I didn't,
it
I
could
hadn't
be
been on,
that it
I
was-
hadn't been on the promenade for a couple of weeks.
yeah.
So
Well,
I
take a
didn't
look
even
at
know
the
it
newer
changed.
signs. Again, it's within the last 2 weeks or so. So the sign will say bicycles and scooters only between 4 a.m. and 10 a.m., and then, period. And then it says dogs are allowed between September 15th and May 15th. So I don't know if that was supposed to apply to both the dogs and the bikes, which it had in the past, but
Well, what was the reason for the change?
We'll look into it, we'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you.
thank you.
Steve, do you want to introduce the police department report?
I'd be very happy to. So this is Lieutenant Joe Walker. So at the last meeting, or I think maybe a subsequent discussion, Jim, you and I, we had discussed, we had such a successful, I think, briefing last time from our city manager, Paul Dietrich, about kind of like the state of the city for some of the projects that had been undertaken and were underway, that we asked that representative of the police department come and do a similar presentation regarding, I guess, your experiences over the course of, the department's experiences over the course of the year, issues that the city has faced that are within your realm, as well as some of the steps that the police department took over the course of the summer, specifically regarding directed patrols and just events that were going on while during the course of this season.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had a conversation with the chief, Deacon Fashaw. Lieutenant Walker is someone who is candidly, you're in some ways more boots on the ground to be involved with some of these issues, and Joe's graciously offered to do a presentation to us today. So Joe, we really appreciate you being here.
Yep, not a problem. Thank you for having me, everybody. Like Councilman said, my name is Joseph Walker, Lieutenant. I'm an administrative lieutenant with the police department. My primary duties within the department, I oversee like all the special events throughout the city. So if you have any parades, races, big events, you'll generally see me at those events. I oversee all of our municipal court operations throughout Cape May, West Cape May, and I oversee our criminal investigations division within the police department, and not to mention putting out the daily fires that pop up within any organization day to day. First, the chief just wanted me to apologize for him if he's not able to be here today. He's attending the FBI Academy Conference in Atlantic City, so that's where he's at this week. And he just asked me like any questions that you may have that I might not be able to answer. Him and I will conference when he gets back, and we'll get an answer to the committee as soon as possible. So anything that I can't answer here, we'll get an answer to you as soon as he gets back. Real quick, we can't manage what we can't measure, so if you'll just allow me to go over some information that I kind of put together over the course of the year, and maybe give us like a baseline of what we're looking at. I researched our motor vehicle stops for time period of May 1st through October 2nd. I tried to keep it in an area where we're in the summer months. We are plus 79 car stops plus 79 from where we were at last year, We had 890 last year, we were at 969 this year. So we definitely saw an increase in our officers going out and addressing violations during that time period. We've been stressing to them just to be out on the road more often, address the problems as you're seeing them, and be proactive. That's one of the big things the chief wanted to address with them, is we really want you out enforcing the laws and the ordinances. So we saw an uptick in motor vehicle stops, and along with that, we are somewhere in the same area with motor vehicle summons during that time period, May 1st to September 1st, we're plus 21 citations more than we were at last year. So enforcement stepped up a little bit as well. We took into account some DUI arrests from the same time period, May 1st to September 1st. We're down 5 DUI arrests from where we were at last year, but that didn't seem right because I feel like we've had a lot. We've been experiencing more DUIs from January 1st till when I did the numbers, which was October 2nd. We have 3 more DUIs than what we were at last year.
You said you were down 5, LT.
Yeah.
What were the raw number?
So we had 24 DUI arrests from May 1st of 24 to September 1st of 24. And this year we had 19 during that time frame.
Okay.
Overall, like I said, we're up 3 arrests. We have 3 more arrests than we had. However, during the summer months, it seemed to scale back a little bit.
Do you guys do it by time of day
It-
and day of the week?
So we could, but it would have to be like hand plotted. Because so we have a CAD system, it's called InfoShare is what our RMS and CAD is. It's what the county communications uses. So basically everybody who's within county dispatch, that's what we have to use. It's just not the great sometimes pulling information and stats. It's just a little difficult. Like, for instance, these numbers, to try to keep it as accurate and to just give us as much of a baseline as possible, we used Cape May City numbers as our numbers for this event. Now, some of these details that I'll talk about, these directed patrol details, they do take place in West Cape May. It's just to try to keep the statistics, to give us a broad overview. It's based on Cape May City 0502 numbers. We wanted to look at crash reports because we thought that was relevant to the committee. So we took numbers for crash reports, and we ran the crash reports from January 1st to October 2nd, so we could just get
What is a crash report?
like a motor vehicle accident report. So if there's an accident involving a car, bicycle, pedestrian,
Right, okay.
we're called and we'll do a police report on it. So in 2024, we had 162 reported accident reports.
Now, these are motor vehicle accident reports?
Yes, they could
Not
involve,
necessarily involving a bicycle.
if a car hits a bike, if a car hits a pedestrian, we respond out. So they will, I'll give you the number that included. I broke it down for a biker pedestrian involved in those. But we had 162 in 2024 versus 178 this year. So we did see a little bit of increase in motor vehicle accidents for 2025. Now, in 2024, during the summer months, we only had 1 biker pedestrian involved in a motor vehicle accident. In 2025, we had 2. So not a large increase, but an increase. Along with motor vehicle accidents, it's nice to be able to report that we did not have any fatal motor vehicle accidents in any of our jurisdictions in 2025 to date. So we hope that trend continues. So that's a good number. Going along the lines of enforcement, not only traffic, but we also seen an uptick in our criminal charges that we've had. In 2024, we had 103 criminal complaints filed, and in 2025, we're up to 162 criminal complaints filed. So while it might not necessarily relate to bicycle pedestrian safety, some of these initiatives that we're doing are leading towards arrests in other areas.
What level of criminal is that shoplifting?
Those arrests.
That's the
yeah.
absolute number.
Yeah, that's the absolute number, from everything from a disorder or a petty disorderly persons offense all the way up to any first, second, third, fourth degree crimes. So that encompasses a lot of different offenses.
A question for you on, if somebody stops a bicyclist or going the wrong way on a one-way street, or not having lights on at night, or not having a helmet on as a child, what happens to that individual? Are they warned? Are they arrested? Are they fined? Are they go to court?
Yeah.
What's the next step?
The officer has a lot of discretion in how they handle, like, minor offenses, okay? So the whole goal is compliance with the law. We want to see compliance with the law. If the officer feels that a verbal warning will gain compliance with the law, they have an option just to give that person that they're dealing with a verbal warning or a written warning. If it's somebody that they've had contact with multiple times, has multiple points on their license, is an offender, or doing something recklessly that they feel a verbal warning is not going to gain compliance with the law, that's where they have the tool in their tool belt to issue a motor vehicle violation or a summons or an ordinance violation, or if it's a criminal offense, to make an arrest. As far as criminal offenses go, that's not an officer discretion issue. If there's a criminal offense, they're making the arrest. I'm talking more for like motor vehicle violations, helmets, bicycle offenses. That's where they have just their discretion.
Yeah, because I'm just thinking, a lot of times, an individual will be riding a bike, but they won't have their driver's license with them, and they may have no identification at all. So especially if they're an out-of-town visitor, it would be difficult to follow up, I would think.
Yeah, we have to be careful. I think a lot of people think when there's an ordinance violation, people have to produce identification, and it's an easy thing to manage. And for ordinance violations, you don't have to, if I ask you if you're right, you don't have to provide it. So then we kind of get into a stalemate of, all right, well, then you're not free to leave. Okay, well, now we're going to stand here and look at each other for the next 6 hours while you decide how difficult you want to be with the police. So we have to really weigh how we manage certain situations, and that's where the officer discretion comes involved. We have some good patrol officers that know how to mitigate and speak with people to try to resolve the situation. But like I said, a lot of the times, if it's that frequent offender, we know who we're dealing with a lot of the times, and that's where you'll see the citations really come into effect.
Thank you.
No problem. So, so those are just some of the overall statistics to kind of give you, like, the baseline hasn't changed all that much from what we saw last year to what we saw this year. We have stepped our enforcement up, and that's going to kind of go and segue into the next section where, like, the city manager's office, the chief, and our command staff, we tried to come up with a way to address a lot of the complaints that we were getting within the city. So what we started to do was we started to implement what we call directed patrols. So what we'll do is we'll give guidance to our sergeants, or we'll give orders, really, to our sergeants to say, hey, these are the problems that we're having in this area this month. We want you guys to kind of focus on that area. That's going to be your area of responsibility. So we have 4 squads, patrol squads within the police department, and we assign them a certain area that we want to see them tackle that month. So directed patrols, I just took this number from January 1st till September 30th of this year, because it's something that we really started to implement this year. We included certain areas like Lafayette Street, Washington Street, and this is just to name a few: Columbia Avenue, Madison Avenue, New Jersey Avenue, Pittsburgh, Sydney, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Delaware Avenue. These are all areas that we've implemented these directed patrols for our West Cape May. We've also pushed that out into West Cape May Borough as well, just so you're both aware of that. We've included Broadway, Stimson Lane, Sunset Boulevard, Stevens, Cape May Point. We've made sure that there's officers running them down there as well. But like I said, these statistics for us, these are the ones that we focused on for Cape May. We conducted 22 different directed patrol locations throughout Cape May City since January 1st. And in those locations, we've had officers out at those locations over 355 times, running radar and monitoring traffic in those locations. During that time, we've conducted 279 motor vehicle stops in those areas, and we've issued 107 traffic-related citations to address the speeding complaints or any other complaints that they may run into in those areas. We have made 3 DWI arrests at those locations while we're doing that, and we've made 2 criminal or warrant arrests out of those details as well. So, like, the city manager's office would get complaints about, like, traffic safety issues on a certain street. That would be an area that we would target in that directed patrol for the month. And then at the end of every month, that sergeant produces a report for our administrative division, and then we compile that every month to the manager's office as well. So that's one thing that we've kind of done new this year to try to tackle some of these traffic-related complaints that we're getting about speeding. And it's something that seems to have really worked out, and it's generated some good enforcement. On top of that, for some bicycle complaints that we've got about bicycles being on the mall when they're not supposed to be on the mall or being on the promenade, and dogs being on the mall and the promenade, we've also done a directed patrol for that. We took some of our SLEO staff and we assigned them to those locations between 8 o'clock in the morning and 12 o'clock noon. And for the mall, we've removed 50 bicycles off and I'm sorry, that detail ran from August 8th to September 8th. So we did that detail for a month just to see what our numbers were. Was there really a problem? Is it really an issue? During that time period, from the mall, we removed 50 bicycles off the mall, and we removed 169 dogs. And on the promenade, we removed 57 bicycles and 98 dogs. So we're trying to step up our enforcement action based off of some of the complaints that we're receiving from the public.
What was that time frame, Joe?
The time period was August 8th through September 8th, and it was 8 a.m. to noon. Real quick, I did want to touch on e-bikes because I knew that would be a hot topic. When e-bikes first really came out, we transitioned our bicycles that we had for our bike patrol. We transitioned them all to e-bikes. Over the course of the last few years, we have phased out the e-bikes from our own perspective, looking at our staff using them. The bike patrol is supposed to be a community policing division. It's supposed to be a way for the officers to slowly patrol through the neighborhood, see some of the issues that maybe a patrol vehicle won't see, interact with the public. And we just felt like we weren't seeing that from the bike patrol division. So we have since phased that out. Any new bikes that we're purchasing we're going back to regular officer bicycles, like mountain bikes. So we know it's an issue. We are monitoring reckless use of the bikes in all the jurisdictions. If it's something that we are going to all bear down, I agree that consistency is so important between our municipalities. I think even with Lower Township, if the message is consistent, there's no confusion with the kids. I think a lot of our kids that we are seeing are from Lower Township. So if the rules kind of apply across the board, I think that's important from the police department's perspective. I know we are waiting on guidance to come out from the state. I think the chief was expecting something to come from them, hopefully sooner than later before next season regarding e-bikes.
What do you think that would make your life easier in enforcing e-bike issues? Registered bikes, licenses on them?
I think it's going to be hard to. I think what Councilman was, it's hard to regulate something where we have so many people coming from out of our area with bicycles down here. I don't know how we would realistically, I would say, enforce licensing e-bikes or making them be registered. I would hope that would be something that would come down from the state. I think,
That's what they're looking at.
Yeah, and I think if it comes down through the state and we have state statutes that we could rely on, I think, and then it's throughout the whole state, it's consistent. I think then that's more realistic. I think having our officers really go out and just address the reckless use of the bikes, and there's laws already on the books for, careless driving on bikes, and so I think we could push more towards enforcement.
Is there an age limit on e-bikes?
I don't believe so.
No, I don't
Yeah.
think there is either.
I don't think there is. I think they're treated just like any other bicycle, and I think that's the problem.
It is.
And I know, like, so my kids, I have a 17-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I know that amongst their friends, That's all they're getting is, they're not getting regular bikes anymore. All of these kids are all getting e-bikes, and they're all buying the ones that they could manipulate the speed on, and they can crank it up to 40 miles an hour, and then they're driving a motorcycle around, is what they're doing.
To that point, I mean, when you have an M on your driver's license, which I do, you got to go through, you got to pass the test, you have to train.
Correct.
To me, anything that can go 20, the speed limit, you need to have training. And I think maybe that needs to be a category of.
They did with mopeds.
Exactly.
They did with mopeds.
They
When
just need to
when we had our
reclassify.
kids riding mopeds back when I had first started, that was the big thing. All the kids, they had to go through, there was training, there was courses, there was
And you had-
regulations.
Yeah.
So I know the chief and I would like to see the state push that with our e-bikes.
Yeah. So George, to your question, there is not an age limit for e-bikes. The only age limit is under 17, they're required to wear a helmet.
A helmet law.
But as far as operation, that's not addressed.
It's got to change.
Yeah.
Hopefully Trenton,
There's nothing we
should
can do here to do that, but that's
Yeah.
something.
And you have parents buying $1,500, $2,000 bikes for their 8-year-olds.
Correct. I mean, if you go
Yes.
to Lower Cape May Regional High School, outside of any practice, the entire bike rack is electric bikes.
Electric bikes.
That's all there are nobody rides a bike anymore.
Correct. We will, I did hear some talk earlier about the trail. We'll make sure that we have officers out patrolling the trail as well. I know that we've already asked them to do that. I'll just, make sure that in our next directed patrol that we just push out, like, hey, squads detail somebody out there a little bit more frequently, especially now that we have our departments transitioning from having our summer staff to now they're starting to go back to college. So we'll have some of our full-time officers start making that a priority. Does anybody have any questions for the police department? That's, as far as like stats go, that's really all I had as far as numbers. Does anybody want to see anything maybe more out of the police department?
No, I just have a question.
Yes.
When you do your directed patrols, how do you determine where you're going to put them? Is it just based on number of complaints? Is it based on data?
It's usually based off of like the complaints and if we see like an increase in accidents in a certain area. And we try to vary up where, like, we try not to hit the same areas, month by month. Like, we try to vary up the locations. But a lot of the times the complaints come into either the chief's office or the city manager's office, and we're like, all right, we know that that's a spot next month where we're going to focus on.
Do you use the data that you get off the radar speed signs to say, hey, this is a hot spot, this time of day?
Yes, so the Lieutenant Mazza is usually in charge of pulling all the speed sign data, and then based off of that data, we could articulate, okay, we know that, Broadway might be a problem between 3 and 5, and we'll pass that along. Yeah, we'll pass that along. Yeah.
Just a comment, I mean, it seems like the directed patrols have been very successful. And it also, to me, it seems to be an excellent use of SLEOs as well. I mean,
Yes.
that seems to be just a great use to ensure, one, that they're, that they're being properly utilized, and also we're getting a lot of, I guess, bang for our buck, so to speak, as far as utilization from them.
Yeah, we found like using the SLEOs for that is much better use than using a full-time officer on that detail. And it's a good way to also get them out, get them interacting with the public too. They were professional when they dealt with everybody. The last thing we wanted to do was have a poor image either. So they were firm, but they were also professional with everybody that they encountered.
The visual presence, I think, is really important for the public to see, as well as people that are operating. I think that, and consistency in having the patrols out there. Look, somebody could be out there one day and they don't get stopped. They get stopped, people change their behavior.
Yeah, change
And
behavior.
that's the big issue, I think, is getting that behavior changed. So, especially since it changes on a week-to-week basis because we have such a turnover on a week-to-week basis. So we reboot every.
It's very
few
difficult,
days.
and I always try to explain that. Like the turnover that we have in our jurisdictions, week to week it's incredible. So that's an uphill battle that we always face, is that we just try to be consistent because we're always dealing with new people week over week. So it's a challenge.
Could I
Okay,
just comment to something you said, Steve? I agree that once somebody's pulled over, it changes their behavior. It also changes the behavior of everybody that drives by that incident when the flashing lights are going on and have somebody pulled over. I mean,
Yeah.
there are many people that are impacted by that
Yeah,
kind of enforcement.
couldn't agree with you more. We even think that way with our events. Like if you see like the canine, like at our races, at our runs, at our, at all the different Oktoberfest, you'll see like the canine dogs. You'll see, so that way people see like there's a presence, there's planning that goes into it. The township is prepared. It's not a soft target. So it's all about optics.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Lieutenant. We got to keep on schedule here. My job is to get us everything included before 11 o'clock. So I very much appreciate you coming by and updating us, and good luck going forward.
Appreciate it. Not a problem. Thank you for having me.
Excellent presentation.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
Yep. Take care. You mind if I sit in and finish?
Yeah, I'm dedicated to keep these meetings somewhere between an hour and an hour and a half, so we still have an important topic of discussion, which is our goals and priorities for the next year. And I've started a list myself of just general topics rather than trying to get into too many specific things. But I'd like to tell you what I'm thinking along these lines. And I'll start with e-bikes and just have that as a general topic to dig into the situation with e-bikes here, specific to Cape May, because we are a community not just of residents, but a lot of tourists who bring their own bikes here, and then include the bicycle shops and the individual teenagers or middle-agers, whatever you want to call them. So on my list of goals and priorities is to just address the e-bike situation and what we can do about it. My second one is the topic of the pedestrian bridge between West Cape May and Cape May. And I think we should have a voice in that discussion, at least have a discussion among ourselves regarding where that project is going and to be somewhat on top of it. So that's number two. Number three is I go back to Bike Cape May report from 2016 and the Safe Route to Schools project that is not completed yet, which is the bike trail from the Coast Guard to the elementary school. There's still work to be done. The money has already been appropriated and given it's a county project, which reports to the city of Cape May. But I see us following up and hopefully getting that bike trail completed, in particular bike lanes on Pennsylvania Avenue, and that we stay on top of that and do what we can to help the city urge the county to complete that project. And then the fourth is to go back to the consultant's report, or the consultant's work over the last year and a half, and what their priorities are. And they came up with a list of about a dozen projects. And I got this off of the Cape May City website of their prioritized infrastructure projects. And rather than try and pick one out right now, my suggestion is take this home, go out to the website. It's a very comprehensive action plan, but it discusses the whole project and the process that the consultants went through. BAPAC was a member of the steering committee that they reported to, as well as the city administration. take a look, and in our next meeting, we go down and, from the prioritized list that you have in front of you now, where we think we should direct our attention to, where we could be most helpful. Recognize we're only talking about how this affects City of Cape May, even though West Cape May is close to us. Since we report to City Council, our advice as an advisory committee goes to what Cape May City Council has jurisdiction over. So if there's something on this list that, like there's one item there that just affects Cape May Point, we're not going there. So I guess your homework assignment is to take a look at the report in capemaycity.com, the website here, and come back at our next meeting, which I'm going to assume, we can talk about this in a minute, will be in mid-November, and get more specific as to, okay, these are the top 2 or top 3 things that we think we can make the most influence on, and take our ideas forward to Cape May City Council and the city manager. So I open it up to you people for thoughts along those lines, or things to add as a general topic for our goals and the priorities for
Just a
2026.
question, Jim. You mentioned the bridge, the pedestrian bridge, whatever it's called, to West Cape May. Where does that stand? Has it been approved? Are they moving forward?
I'm going to turn that over to one of our committee members here, Mr. Dick.
Where does it stand? We've done a lot of the preliminary work on design so that we can apply for DEP permits. We will have a big announcement on grant funding momentarily, which will help with the payment of the project. Everybody should be happy about what the grant is. We've already have an $85,000 grant, and we had asked the NGDOT for a $700,000 grant, which basically pays for the whole thing. And I am pretty sure there's going to be really good news today about that. So that's kind of where it is. Now, that doesn't mean the project is okay. That is a huge hurdle. We still have to get our permits, and once we have the permits, we probably will need to adjust a final plan and design for the bridge. I can also say that I have, in West Cape May at least, I have had multiple people come to me and say they want to become friends of the bridge and work on the landscaping and the planting of flowers and seasonal things around the bridge and clean up. And I'm sure there'll be volunteers in Cape May to do that too. So some real positive things are coming real soon, I'll just say that. And that's kind of where it stands.
Have you approached the fund for Cape May?
We haven't. If this grant goes through from NJDOT, I think it's fully paid for. But the Friends of, we can ask them to do some maybe landscaping or pay for some of the landscaping work around it or supplementary things.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts in regards to overall infrastructure or projects that we should be paying attention to as far as our goals for next year?
I have a question, and it actually may be to the city manager. So this came off the website, and this is directly from, I'm looking at the projects directly from the consultant that we listed. And the question I would have is, on each one of these projects, there are things, for example, that West Cape May is already working on. We're taking steps to make, one of the big things that we have as an issue is trying to make Broadway safer through one of the areas, one of the things on here talks about going up, all the way up to the bridge on Seashore and Broadway, and pedestrian walkways and things like that. We're already looking at that with the county, from the section from Stimson down to, so I mean, if these are bigger projects, and since they're named in here, we can do them systemically with all the municipalities involved, and we can get perhaps larger grants, we want to do that, but I don't know the next step to get to that. I mean, let's look at this, just look at one that does all of us. And actually you mentioned it, the Elmira, Leeming, Landis, Stewart, Ocean Street.
Right.
There's a West Cape May portion of that. It's the
Right.
second one down. How do we get to a project and, a study to say, hey, this is the things we need to do on all those roads?
Well, I mean, the first one that we're applying for the federal grant to update the bike plan. So that was the first thing we've applied for, and we're in the process of getting that. Yeah, it's really coming together and figuring out what do we want to work on collectively, but some of the collective projects are a little harder to do because then you got to get 2-3 towns all putting in money at the same time.
Exactly.
And for the same focus. So it's just a little bit harder, but, part of that discussion starts here and, figuring out where to focus on those types of things. Things that are on the county road, are probably going to be maybe easier, the towns can go meet with the county engineer and because if, I'm sure, or if you may not be aware, but the county was going through their own Safe Streets process almost at the same time. They were finishing up theirs right as we were finishing up ours. So, there is some crossover even from that. But that would be an outreach, like, especially if it's a project on the county road, to work with the county to see if they'll partner.
Okay.
And see if they'll do some of the heavier lifting,
Okay.
so to speak.
It seems to me that it's on these multi-jurisdiction projects, it's almost one of the towns has to take a lead.
Right.
Like with the bridge, we felt that fit
Right.
with our plan to find a safe road to the beach. And you guys were very willing partners on it, which was awesome. And, we've taken the lead on that and we worked together. I think some of these other projects have to happen that way.
Right.
also.
And that's why, that's why I looked at that Elmira Street, kind of looking on our side. On the West Cape May side, it kind of, you already started pointing that direction, and you have your bike lanes
We have
already
bike
kind of,
lanes already.
kind of already established there. So it's really, the heavier lift is really on our side to be able to get the rest of the way to Beach Avenue. And so that's why I'm putting that more on
It
Cape
is a
May.
much heavier lift at your end, but
I mean, you have some issues on your side.
Leeming
and-
needs to be addressed as, because people come off Broadway and they accelerate down Leeming.
Right.
People live on both sides of the street, so.
And I would say that if we thought, like I would say next year, like say we get the Safe Streets federal grant money to do the bike plan, I would say what we could look at is next year as we go into the Safe Streets funding round again, is look at, okay, maybe there's a project that is that bigger lift and we want to work and find that project. But I think, what I was asking at this point is, I just need a small project that I'm going to fund at the city level, just because I know I'm not going to get a huge amount of money, but I think I can get enough to maybe move us forward. But when we get to some of these larger ones, it may make sense to focus that as, hey, that's a priority to apply for a grant to get that bigger pot of money.
Okay.
Whereas we still may need to, like when we applied for that Safe Streets grants, that still costs, even applying for those federal grants, they still cost $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 to even make that application. So part of that process, even as part of, we put the budget proposal for next year, would be to put some extra money, not just for that project design, but also to make a grant application for that. So that would be another thing I'd recommend, West Cape May and Cape May Point, to maybe have some additional funding money to, even if we all have $7,000, we all pool that gets us to $20,000, then that could be a good application that would join all 3 towns or 2 towns. If it's something that is West Cape May City centric, that, then we're just funneling it and,
For us to, yeah.
and tie it in that way. So that would be, but that's all comes to, what do you think is the priority moving forward? So maybe the group works on a city focus thing that I'm going to throw a project at that is going to be city funded, but if there's another project that we want to throw some money at that is a joint venture, we'll call, and looking at a proposal for this time next year or summertime next year, that we could hire a consultant that would be a multi-town project to do that.
So, Paul, one of the things, I know that one of the reasons that I was put on this committee is because you had the $200,000 grant to do the whole island. With the refocus back on Cape May, my first reaction and some of my constituents were, let's have a West Cape May Bicycle and Pedestrian Safety Committee separate from this one, since the focus of this group. But what I don't want to lose, as somebody who uses all the biking and running, and this whole island, this side of the bridges is linked, and we.
Sure.
So what I don't want to do is little silos. Cape May's doing this, West Cape May wants to do this. So I just want to throw that out there. I'm pretty sure we're going to do our own bike safety committee, just so that our townspeople have input in this kind of a way, and it's not just me and Mr. Mars here, standing here. But I don't want to lose the ability to have the conversation of an island-wide work together.
Well, and I think having you guys sitting here at these discussions keeps that tie.
Yeah.
And keeps the conversation.
And we'll continue
in
as long as you
there,
want us.
so.
Okay.
So I would agree.
Well-
I mean, look, people don't even realize when you go from one community to the next. So I think the goal would be, if we address these issues, to make them seamless, to go from one community to the next. So it only makes sense to continue with that.
And, so, I mean, that's kind of how the First Avenue Bridge
Exactly.
I mean, it's,
Yeah, I mean,
A quick question for you. If we want to look towards putting something in the operating budget for Cape May, what's the timeline for next year's budget?
no later than your next meeting, I need, because I'm actually, in November, I have to hold public budget meetings to kind of put out to the public what I'm going to be, how I'm formulating or what I'm getting from my departments. I have to have public discussions on when I'm meeting with the CFO to kind of formulate that budget. So, I need, no later than your next meeting, I need a project idea, or guess what, you're using mine.
So we're scheduled, I would think,
Right.
just based off of our scheduling, November 12th would be when this committee would have its next
I need
meeting.
to-
Generally, you have those, the budget meetings take
I'm
place
probably going to have
within,
the budget meetings probably already at that time, but I can still, that's for all my departmental meetings. This is going to be aside, but at that meeting, I'm going to need a focus project that this committee wants to focus on.
so we should walk
And-
out of
and-
next month's meeting with some idea as far as just what we're prioritizing to be able to give that feedback to the city.
And going on George's comment, you could come up with two ideas. One could be a city-centric focus thing. The other idea could be if we want to look at a community-wide thing that we're going to apply for the federal grant next year, that would be maybe larger scale, incorporate, a larger budget. I would need money to apply for that grant too. So it's kind of two parts, one doing a physical project, one applying for grant money, which would be a larger project. So you could have two focuses. So I just doubled your homework, so.
Gotcha. Okay, well, put that on the agenda for next month then, to have a discussion.
But I ultimately, I do need that,
Giving you some,
I need that recommendation, otherwise I have to just go out on my recommendation, because I have to put something forth to council, because we're at this time of year.
So if I could ask that, look, I know you're going to have a lot going on, your schedule fills up, but if we are going to have that date, if you could be available for that date as well to participate here, that would really be helpful too.
Yeah, I think we're going to aim for second Wednesday of November for the next meeting. Does that work with everybody's schedule? I think that's maybe the 12th. I don't have my calendar in front of me.
It's 12th.
Yeah, at 9:30. Okay, thanks.
And if anybody has any questions, just feel free to email me in between now and then if you have a question.
Okay, no, we're good. Any other comments from committee members here that you'd like to make before we turn it over to the public comments? But I don't think we're going to have too many public comments today.
I just want to point out that on the official bike map of Cape May, it says biking on Promenade, limited hours in season, 4 a.m., 10 a.m., May 15, September 15, off-season, dawn to dark.
Yeah, and
That's on the
but
map.
that is, well, they're going to get back to us with, I mean, that's a live topic for next meeting.
Could I make a comment? And Paul may be interested in this. Talking about, you had mentioned too many signs. During the summer, that new walk ramp along the beach, which is great, people use it all the time. But apparently bikes are not allowed on it. I don't think there's any signs at all. But are there, where?
Yeah, there are. Yeah,
Each beach entrance, as you go from the promenade to the beach, says no bikes.
yeah.
Okay.
So you can't have a bike on the beach, you can't have a bike on the ADA map. So that's where,
Yeah.
but it's there.
Okay. Anything else? Otherwise, I'll ask for a call for adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
A second? Okay, meeting is adjourned. Next meeting, 9:30 here, Wednesday, November 12th.
Thanks, guys.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody.
And I'll bring my little device.
Yeah, that'd be good.
So it records the entire discussion and makes up a report.
Does a transcript, and
Wow.
it summarizes what just happened and what the next steps are.
And how much input does it require from you to finalize?
Yeah, I got it.